Hello, you're watching Off the Page, a bookish podcast.
I'm Daisy.
And I'm Sophie.
And we're English Lit students here to give you a rundown of our favourite book-related topics. Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Black grew up in West Long Branch, New Jersey on the 10th of December 1971.
Is that when she was born?
That is when she was born, yeah. She, quote, grew up in a decrepit Victorian house. And she says this is what kind of drew her passion for the eerie and fantastical. She's 42 when she wrote The Cruel Prince.
I would not have guessed that one, to be honest.
I know, whenever you think about authors, you seem to think...
Oh, like YA specifically?
Yeah, for YA specifically, I always forget that older people can write YA books because it's always from... The characters are always younger.
In my head, it is like a white woman in her 20s or 30s. And
I'll show you a photo
the author of every single one.
So she is a white woman, but she's got like electric blue hair. Like she's...
like
she's
40.
Alternative.
How old is she now?
42 in 2018.
Oh, so like still 40s.
Yeah. So I found this really interesting. I actually didn't know this until I was researching The Cruel Prince. Do you know Spiderwick Chronicles?
I do.
Do you love the Spiderwick Chronicles?
I do.
Doesn't everyone? She wrote them. She wrote them in 2003.
Oh, is it literally the same person?
Literally the exact same person. Holly Black wrote the Spiderwick Chronicles.
I know, but
in 2003.
The friggin' Spiderwick Chronicles are awesome.
Yeah, it was a #1 bestseller on New York Times, and it was made into a movie in 2008, and then it was made into a series in 2003, which I didn't know. I didn't know there was a series version.
I didn't know there was a series. I've seen the movie.
I wonder how many books you've read by the same author and not even realised that they were written by the same author.
Yeah, like, I've heard so much about this, and nobody connected the dots for me.
Holly Black has also won many an award. She's won a Nebula for Best Short Story, a Newbery Honour for her book Doll Bones in 2014. She won a Mythopoetic in Children's Literature, and she's had multiple Andre Norton nominations. She's also had some of her works translated into over 30 languages.
Ooh.
I know, what an accomplishment. This book is a fantasy book. It's young adult. There's 370 pages and 30 chapters plus an epilogue. And it is the first book in a trilogy. So there's 3 books. Holly Black has said that her reason for writing this book kind of stems from her fascination with the structures and power dynamics of a court and politics.
Yeah.
She's also said that she channeled the feeling of isolation and oddness that she felt as a child into Jude, the main character. So she's kind of using her experiences as a kid, feeling like the odd one out. She also said that it was about kind of like a feminist...
Oh, yeah.
Shouts feminism, having a strong female character who feels out of place, feels kind of isolated and alone, feels like she's different from everyone else, or is different from everyone else, but then still ends up being this strong-willed, powerful female character. The themes are power and ambition, loyalty and betrayal, and moral ambiguity, because this book is very much folklore, mythical fairy tales. Like, the way that she's nuanced the characters is very much mythical tale type thing.
Okay.
So you never really know what anyone's thinking or what they're going to do unless you're the only perspective that you really get is Jude, so she's really the only one that you know what she's going to do, apart from obviously the parts where her intentions are left out so that there's more of a twist for the reader.
Okay.
Okay, so a synopsis of The Cruel Prince. Your main characters that, well, at least the ones that I focused on. Jude, she's the main character. There's her sister Tara and her twin sister. Her older sister Vivian. Their little stepbrother Oak. Maddock, who is Vivian's biological dad and Jude and Taran's adoptive dad. And then there's Locke, who's a fairy, and Carden, who is a prince fairy, and his brother Baelkin, who is also a fairy, and his other brother Dane. They also have a sister and their dad and blah blah blah.
Okay, that's a lot. Okay.
Okay, so Jude and her 2 sisters are living in the mortal world. They are kidnapped. So Maddock is a fairy man, and he comes to their house in the mortal world, slays their parents, kills them, and is basically like, Vivian is my daughter, I'm taking her home to fairy, and then decided to take the other 2 human girls with him as well, because he just killed their parents and felt bad.
Yeah, as you do.
So, didn't think about that one. Yeah, he takes them all back to the fairy world to raise them. So this happens when Jude's quite young. I think she's like 6. And then they're raised in the fairy world.
Okay.
In the fairy world, Madoc is the Grand General of Elfheim. So Elfheim is obviously the magical fairy world's name, and Madoc is like a right hand to the High King. So the girls get to go to a fancy fairy school with the youngest prince. His name's Carden. In this school, they learn all the fairy stuff, and they are bullied by the fairies because they don't like humans. Humans are a lesser being. They torment them, blah, 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 blah. Carden is the biggest perpetrator. Jude, she wants to be a knight. She wants to fight for her realm, but actually it's more about she wants to have... So in the Fae world, humans don't really have any rights. They don't have a lot of power. It's very hard for them to survive. So Fae wants to become a knight so that she can have some power in this world and kind of be able to stand up for herself and her human sister, Taryn. However, she ends up mixed up in this plot between the royals. She ends up being a spy for Dane. We find out that the king wants to abdicate. He wants to give the crown to the next ruler. So basically they plan a coronation and all the royalty is there. And Baelkin teams up with Madoc and they kill everyone in the royal family apart from Baelkin himself and Carden.
Okay, why are the sisters at the thingy?
Because Madoc is held in such high regard, they get privileges which a regular human wouldn't get. Baelkin and Madoc kill the king, kill all of the other family members, so the other brother, the sister, etc, etc. So the only two left that they know of, wink wink, is Baelkin and Carden. He leaves Carden alive because in the Fae world, once you're royalty, you are royal. Even if someone steals your throne and like takes the crown away from you and all that sort of stuff, you are still the king, or you are still royalty. But to become royalty, or become the High King or High Queen, you have to be crowned by someone in the bloodline. So Baelkin, obviously, he killed everyone because he wants to take over, but he needed one of them to be there to crown him. So he went for the youngest brother, Carden, because he thought it'd be the easiest to manipulate. At this point, Jude finds out her youngest brother or stepbrother, Oak, is actually not Madoc's son. It was Dane's son, the eldest prince, which makes her stepbrother royal blood. Okay? Here ensues Jude's magical plot. She basically concocts a plan that ends with Oak crowning Carden. So Baelkin wanted Carden to crown him. Jude comes up with a plan. With this plan, she kind of teams up with Carden because obviously now he needs a way out of this too. Like, they kind of have to get over their differences. Kind of. They don't really get on, but they have to work together. So she concocts this plan and she tells Carden the aim is for Carden to crown Oak and Oak will be the king. Except when it actually goes down, Jude has Oak crown Carden instead, which means Carden is stuck being the High King of Elfheim.
I thought he was going to be anyway.
No, that was for Baelkin. Baelkin. She also ends up tricking Carden into a deal, and basically with the fairies, once you make a deal or you agree to something, so even something like a marriage, it becomes magically binding. So they usually have to that's why they're tricksters. They like to spin a tale, kind of, whatever. They're tricksters. But she is smart and she manages to get Carden to agree to obey her. So he has to do everything that she says for a year and a day. And this is essentially how she ends up getting him to be king. And then she carts off back to the human realm to be safe and away from all the fairies so that when he's old enough, he can come back and then take over as king.
Okay.
So within this story, we also see a secret romance with Locke, one of Prince Carden's entourage. However, it turns out that Locke is cheating. Or not even really cheating. It's a very strange situation where Locke is seeing Taryn, her twin sister, and then to test Taryn and her love for him, he tells her that she has to watch and just kind of sit by whilst he has a secret affair with her sister. And that if she passed that test, he would ask for permission to marry her. Obviously, Jude doesn't know about this, but she does find out in the end. But we'll get to that in the discussion. She does also, after this with Locke, she has this little romance with Locke. And then after that, during her team up with Carden, there are a few moments of romance with them as well. I'm pretty sure there's a kiss or two, and some flirting and stuff like that.
Next up, Daisy and I are going to play a little game.
Okay, this game is called Titles. I've got 4 columns of random words in front of me. The first thing that you have to do is pick a number out of a jar between 2 and 4. This number is going to tell you how many of the columns you get to use. Then you're going to pick a number from another jar, and you will do this for as many times as you pulled columns. So you say you get to use 3 columns, you'll pull 3 numbers. These numbers are going to tell you which word you get out of the list. So each column has a list of 10 words. Say you pull 3 columns and you pull the number 3 for your first column, then that would be the word that you use. These words all combined together is what is going to make your title. You are allowed to add plurals or make it past or present tense. So say if the word was marble, to make it make sense in your title, you are allowed to change it to marbles.
Okay.
The last step is that once you have your title, you're going to create a description of what your book would be about. We're going to do this 2 times each, and the loser has to read a book of the winner's choice. The winner is decided by the comments, so please let us know down below who you think had the funniest title. Sophie, please choose how many columns you will be allowed to use.
I can use 4.
Oh, damn, okay.
It's going to be a whopping
Please
title.
choose 4 numbers out of the second pot.
Okay. That's 1. It's 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, line them up. Please tell me your first number.
Okay, this one's 8.
Your first word is death.
Fantastic. Hold on, let me scribble that down. We got death, and then we have 10.
Your second word is flamingos.
Death. Flamingos. This one looks to be a 4.
Your third word is blood.
Death, flamingos, blood. This one is a 2.
Your last word is lost.
Ah. Death, flamingos, blood, lost.
A brief intermission while Sophie comes up with a description of her book. What is the description of your book called?
Death, flamingos, blood, lost. Okay, so in my world, there are no flamingos. They are extinct. They are lost. But you need to drink flamingo blood in order to avoid death. So my main character is hunting for the extinct flamingos to find their blood. And they fail and they die.
Oh no!
And that's my book. Okay.
Sophie, please choose how many columns you can use for your second title.
Okay. You know what? I picked that one. 4.
Please tell me your first number.
This one is 1.
Crown. Please tell me your second number.
2.
Upon. Third number.
5.
Ah.
8.
Socks. Crown upon a sock. Now please tell me what does happen in Crown upon a sock.
So the protagonist for this is an elderly man. His name's Gerald, and he likes sock puppets.
Okay.
And I'm going to borrow from Stephen King, and he has this well in his basement, and he goes down into this magical land where everyone is sock puppets, and he is king.
He is king.
Because he is the best sock puppet, because
Okay.
his sock puppet is just...
Wait, so the old man is also a sock puppet?
No. He makes them. So he comes down and he's got like his sock puppet, and they just like him so much because these sock puppets are disembodied. They don't have like a guy with them, but because he's a guy and a sock puppet, they're like, wow, my lord from another world, king, and that concludes.
And then the sock puppets have a war,
Yeah.
and then there's no sock puppets.
Yeah, Crown Upon a Sock is a very sad novel. Okay, now we're switching over to Daisy. Please pick how many words you're allowed to use.
I can use 2 columns.
2 columns, wow. Okay, pick your first word. Okay, and your second word? Okay, now shuffle them however you want them. Which one should go first vibes?
I feel like this one should go first.
Alright.
My first word is one.
Okay, Daisy's first word is crown. Now can you give me your second number?
My second number is 7.
Your second word is of.
Crown of.
That's rude.
Crown of. Okay, Crown of is the story of a travelling crown. It moves around to different kingdoms, different regions, different places, and no one ever knows where the crown is from. So it's the crown of...
Kind of like Doctor Who.
blank. Yeah, exactly like Doctor Who.
It's just crown of.
Crown of.
I love that. It's just crown of.
Crown of.
Okay. Please pick how many words you're allowed to use this time.
Please be more. 4!
It is 4. Put them in whatever order you think they should go in.
They're done.
They're done. Okay. Give me first number.
6.
Daisy's first word is tides. Give me your second number.
7.
Okay. Of. Looking good so far. Third number.
5.
Ah. 4th number.
2.
Lost.
Tides of a lost.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to swap tides for tide, and it's going to be tide of a lost.
Okay.
Tide of a Lost is about a mermaid that gets lost in the sea.
Valid. What's her name?
Crucio.
Sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Crucio. Okay. And thus concludes the game. Do you want...
The end. Reviews! For reviews of this book, I went for Publishers Weekly. The author wrote, "First in a trilogy, this spellbinding fantasy from Black reflects on the cost of ambition and explores the bomb-strewn border between love and hate. Breathtaking set pieces, fully developed supporting characters, and a beguiling tough-as-nails heroine enhance an intricate, intelligent plot that crescendos to a jaw-dropping third act twist. It's good for age 15 and up."
Okay.
So, pretty positive review there.
Okay.
Pretty positive. Someone on Reddit said, "What hooked me was how authentic the characters felt. Plus, it's a breath of fresh air to read a fantasy where being a fairy is more than just being pretty." Goodreads gave the book 4.2 stars.
Okay.
And this 5-star review says, "Absolutely love this read. A wonderful fantasy novel."
Okay.
So
okay.
overall, the reviews that I could find were all pretty positive.
Those are all really positive. I've heard some really negative ones.
Yeah, so I was looking, I did have a look through the negative reviews, but the only ones that I could find didn't hold a lot of integrity for me, because most of the negative reviews that I could find were looking at this book through a scope of it's supposed to be a romance, and also older people reading this book as if it's meant for older people, but it's a young adult
it's
book.
YA.
It's YA. It's written for 15 plus. I'd say probably 14 plus, maybe even 13, but it's aimed for young teenagers. Like, that is the goal reader, so it's not gonna be such a difficult read. It's not gonna be so mature.
It's not going to be...
It's not
going to take your whole brain.
And it's not going to have spice in it or anything like that, which a lot of people read fantasy books for. Romance fantasy books, they read for the spice and stuff. But this is not a romance fantasy. There is little tidbits of romance in it, but it is not the key plot at all.
I was going to say that I thought it was a romance, and that's what I've heard of it. Also, I think you're right. Like, we talked about it last week as well. We're like, you really have to consider when you're writing a review what the intention for the book was. What is it written to be?
What was it written to be? What was the intention for the book? And what was the intended audience?
I'm with you. Okay, that clears that up, because I did think it was a romance, to be honest.
That's actually a common thing.
It's misunderstood online.
It is. Like, if you go on TikTok, a lot of the things that you hear and a lot of the things that you see trying to, like, get you to read the book, the things that try and hook you on it and pull you in, most of them are talking about it as a romance book, a fantasy romance. But when you actually read it, if that's what you're going into it thinking it's going to be, then of course you're going to be disappointed afterwards, because that is not what it is. It's not a romance.
Yeah, you described it like there was only, like, little bits. Like, almost romance was teased, but that's not
exactly.
what
So when I was going through the synopsis, I waited until I'd already told you the baseline of the story to add in the little,
which is a
little tidbits
story
of
in its
romance.
own right. Mm-hmm. It's a whole like political sort of telling in its own right. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Exactly. And the romance is really just there as like a little bit of extra juice. It's like watching a TV show with a side plot. Now we're going to move on to a discussion of the Cruel Prince. My favourite character was Oak, the little boy, because for me, he was very sweet and very innocent. And personally, I know a lot of people would go for Jude, but I found her grating. She was very standoffish in situations where she didn't need to be. And like, she came across as rude when she didn't need to be. And it made it really hard for me to like her as a character.
I think I agree with you. Even hearing you talk about it, I'm not a big fan of like girl boss characters when they're written to be such. Does that make sense? Like, I like strong female characters, but if I feel like you're pushing it, it's inauthentic and it's kind of grating. And it's kind of sounded like that when you were describing it.
I feel like I don't mind when a female character is written to be powerful, but I don't like when a female character being powerful translates to them being a bitch.
I get what you mean.
Because you can be powerful and have your own power and hold space without being rude, and you can do that without being nasty.
We're holding space.
We're holding space. You can be nice and lovely and sweet and still be a powerful person. You can be polite and still be powerful. Actually, to me, you hold more power if you are polite, especially to people that you don't like. You don't have to be nice to them, but if you are polite and respectful towards people that you don't like, that's impressive.
I agree. I think I find characters that are just standoffish and cool, but like it's not cool. Like,
No.
it's just for the sake of it.
Rude.
It's just grating. It's like that's not how normal people behave either.
I will say my favourite chapter was chapter 23, because this chapter is where Jude finds out that her sister is hoping to get married to Locke, the guy that she was having a secret relationship with. And this is when she finds out Locke was just using her to test her sister to do the whole proposal thing, yeah? Jude finds out betrayal! And basically she pulls a sword and challenges Taryn to a duel, and they sword fight. They sword fight. And it's fantastic.
The mental image I have for that is not probably what it looked like.
I think that them having their fight as well, I found it very cathartic, because oftentimes in real life when you feel like someone has done something against you, you can't always react how you want to because you worry about consequences, and there's just certain behaviours that aren't accepted in society.
Yeah, I get you.
And like, you can't always act how you want to. You can't always go around slapping people.
It's also such a physical representation of rage.
Yes.
Like if you annoyed me, I couldn't just be like, Daisy, let's go.
Exactly. And I also feel like with characters as well, whether it be in a movie, a TV show or a book, I find it personally so frustrating when something happens to them and they don't react how you want them to. Like if someone's being unfair to a character or says something that just fills you with that rage of like, why have they done this? The unjustness of it.
It's too real.
It's too real.
It's too real.
It enrages me when characters have something unjust done to them and they don't do anything about it, and they're like, oh no, I just have to let it go and be the bigger person. No, you're a character in a book. You don't have real life consequences for doing these things. Stab a bitch.
Slap a bitch. It's what we all wish we could do.
Exactly.
It's too real. When they swallow their feelings, I'm like, no, I do enough of doing that in real life.
Exactly,
like, don't make me watch you do it too.
I'm not reading this book to watch you do what I would do in this situation.
Yeah, I want you to do something different.
I want you to do the cool thing. I want you to get a sword out, whip it out, and try and stab each other.
I agree. You know what? You're so right. Like, we don't read books for the characters to have emotional maturity.
Exactly.
Like, we read to go somewhere we're not and to see people do things we can't do.
Exactly.
And if that's stabbing a bitch, great.
Okay, moving on. I enjoyed the variety in how Black described the world. Specifically, I liked the variety in the Fae. So they had like a common theme of they all had an animal characteristic, but some of them looked more animal than others. Some of them, Carden for example, he looks completely normal. He just looks like a human, until we find out later on in the book that's because he has a tail and he hides it in his trousers. So there's little things where there's characters with something very small. There's bigger things where there's characters who have like fawn legs and butterfly wings and stuff like that. And I did enjoy that variety.
That's a lot of good world building. And
It
like,
is.
good descriptions as well.
Exactly.
Is it like character description based? Like, do you get a lot of that, because some writers don't.
There is quite a lot of character description, to be fair. I will say it is very well built, the characters specifically, but since we're talking about the world building, personally for me, I found the description of the layout of this fantasy world, Elfhame. For me, when I was reading it, the words that she used created an image in my head that made Elfhame seem like a tiny island. Everything seemed really cramped in my head. The words I was reading and kind of trying to map it out in my brain and imagine what it was supposed to look like, it turned into like a little tiny island where everything was all squished together. And that kind of ruined it for me, because not ruined the whole book, obviously, but it ruined the
Immersion?
Yeah, it ruined the immersion, where I was like, well, if this was a whole Fae world and there's Fae all across the world, how is the only Fae realm a tiny island? And if there's also so many Fae, where are they all staying? If the only house is... So, for example, the only places that we really see are the palace, mainly the throne room and the room that she goes to do her spy work, Madoc's house and Locke's house. Then there's also the school that they go to, which is by the palace, and a river.
But there's not like a sense of scale, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's missing a sense of scale.
It's missing a sense of scale, exactly. World building I'm a bit iffy on with this one, because some of it, yes, like the description of the characters, but some of it absolutely missed the mark for me. I absolutely loved that the focus was on Jude and her progress and her story rather than the romance. So the romance was really more of a subplot, and actually at the end of the book it ends without romance. There is no happy fairy tale ending for Jude, at least in the first book, I'll say. There's no they run off together happily ever after into the sunset kind of situation. Like, it's made very clear that Cardan is supposed to be her love interest by the end of the book, but they are not in a relationship, and they do not like each other by the end of the book.
Oh dear. Okay, I like that. I like that.
Personally, I feel like the fact that it's a subplot and the fact that they end not really liking each other is alluring for the next book. It's a good hook, because then you're like, oh, well, there was something building here, and an author's not going to put that in just to let it go flat. Like, there's going to be more to that subplot. There's going to be more juice there. Mm-hmm. So it makes you want to read more, which is good for the second book. Again, another reason that it, for me at least, I would not call this a romance book is the romance was more of a manipulation tactic. It wasn't a romance tale. It wasn't them falling in love, how they fell in love, why they fell in love, how they feel about each other. It was, especially her little affair with Locke, it was very much manipulation. And again, that brings it back to the fact that it is a political story. It's about the political structures and how everyone kind of intertwines and interweaves with each other to build that structure, and how they all treat each other within it. Also, the depth of the lore in this book is actually really good. Like I was saying earlier, it really does give off folktale, mythical, fairy tale kind of stuff. It goes into detail about things like using salt in your food, because humans can't eat Fae food unless they add the salt, because basically it gets them high.
Okay, that's fun.
And wearing specific charms around your neck so that the Fae can't influence you, because again, if you don't have your charms and you're human, the Fae can kind of put you under this trance where you have to do what they're telling you to do.
That seems like a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I like that.
It kind of helps with the realism.
Yeah, because it's like little social rules that they have to navigate.
Yeah.
Which is, what am I trying to say? Like norms and status quos and stuff. You're trying to say they're all like established, which makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so my last point is that I really like this book because of the underlying feminism. This whole book is about Jude finding her power and figuring out where she stands in this world, what her place is, and fighting for a better one, which I personally think mirrors feminism really beautifully. I think that it is a really good way to share that moral and that belief with young readers in a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Undercover?
Accessible?
Accessible, but also undercover. It's like, for me, the feminism in this book is like parents blending up broccoli into your pasta sauce so that you don't know it's in there. You're still getting the nutrients from it, you're still getting the good bits, but you just don't know that that's what you're having. So you read The Cool Prince and you're not thinking whilst you're reading it, oh, this book is about feminism.
It's not like shoved down your... It's not obvious.
It's not obvious, no. As I say, the mirroring of the feminist agenda, I suppose, of females finding their power and fighting for a better place in the world, and kind of actually growing up as a young girl, and when you figure out that actually women aren't treated equally all the time, all that sort of stuff. I just think it's really good. I think it's a good way to feed the narrative to a younger generation of this is kind of what the reality of the world is, especially for young girls, without scaring them. It's like kind of giving them some values of people deserve better without shoving it down their throats.
Yeah, I get you. It's like not spoon feeding, but it's a very gentle like introduction to like maybe this is something to think about rather than being like feminism.
Yeah. That's the end of this episode.
Please make sure to like, subscribe, and if you're on the Instagram or TikTok, follow. Links will be below.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.